Well, here it is, 9:44, and we have Aristo with us now. And it's afternoon his time, 9:44 in the morning my time, and
4:44 here
4:44 there.
on
So
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Okay. So we've talked only very briefly, and I would like to. We didn't even talk about what the title's going to be. He's not doing the EMPO or Empowerment 101. That series ended with the last video. So tell us what you're going to do this time, Aristo.
Well, let's give a nice, flashy, new agey type title that probably will piss people off because the content may not have anything to do with it. But still, let's call it The Light of Truth. I basically inspired by one of those pictures that someone sent you, and that talks about shine the light of truth and all evil shall dissipate, etc., etc. So let's examine in view of all of these strange goings on, because I'm more an observer of this, and my focus is regardless of what's going on with the fighting and the cooperations or the efforts, is to address everybody, and particularly to those people who feel some kind of inspiration and yet feel somehow disempowered, who know something is going on, who feel that there is a sense that what can I do, and but who are not so much prone to externally join a group or do something like that, but basically everybody, because you said yourself that, well, the first thing we need to do is look in the mirror. That's where the light of truth shines. Unfortunately, if you shine the light of truth in the mirror, you can get blinded. So that's the problem. We always like to shine the light of truth elsewhere, so we see a reflection of truth from the outside world instead of letting truth shine into our own eyes by shining it on our reflection. So I'd like to express some views on this, and so to help people think about things, but at the same time, your attitude toward these ideas that are expressed in alternative thinking and feeling, not just spirituality, but things that have been cliched. Let's take the cliches out of it. Let's take the tolerance effect, because when you say something that's meaningful over and over again without actually applying it, it becomes you get numb to it. You desensitize yourself. You can even desensitize yourself to truth, and so the psychopath can go around saying the form of truth, but it has no substance. And that's how things get turned upside down, because something you think should be one thing ends up being another. Whose fault is that? Nobody's. Okay, fuck the fault thing. But are we responsible somehow for making it right? That's what we should ask ourselves. So why is the world upside down? Who cares? I mean, because the point is, what can I do about it? How can I right the upside downness? Is it really a matter of writing something that's upside down, or is it a matter of taking an empty form or a form with meaningless substance or false substance and extracting the falsehood and putting the truth? So what does that imply? This implies that truth is formless. If you look at truth in terms of the form of something, the shape it takes, you are likely to be deluded. That's the problem. But that shape should be doing this thing. That car should be moving forward. It shouldn't be moving in reverse. Why is it going on? Well, because somebody is driving it wrong, in the context. The whole thing is that form should follow function. Function should follow form. They are added together. But if you do not participate in something, if you do not penetrate something, because the light of truth does not emanate outside of you like a flashlight. You are the light of truth. It emanates from you. It's inside of you. When you shine it in the mirror, you really, really see yourself for who you are. You may see ugliness because you have been misappropriating your own potential. You have allowed your own potential to be misappropriated, etc., and not knowing how or why. And looking at the externals often will not give you more than a few clues that are supposed to orient you to look in the mirror and listen to yourself, because seeing is just one metaphor, a visionary metaphor, and it's the safest one because we're at a distance from whatever we see. Listen to yourself is the acoustic metaphor of looking in the mirror. Speak the truth, listen to the truth of yourself, hear yourself, feel yourself. All of the, of course, I won't say touch yourself because then somebody will call me a pervert. They'll say that they'll issue a kill order on me. I don't know what. I'd rather they just say this guy's crazy. But, you know, in this politically correct world, which is actually a politically incorrect world, you know, we seem to be afraid of our expression. And that's why I like to intersperse certain expletives like fuck and shit in my words in order to emphasize that political correctness or incorrectness has nothing to do with it. This is honest expression and observation. So let me begin with something I read. I read this interesting thing, and this has to do with the light of truth, and it also has to do with this saga of accusations flying around. Somebody decided to do an experiment, a psychology experiment in a university. So he got a bunch of people, some of his friends, and said, okay, he gave them cameras and he dressed them up in suits, and he just dressed up in a suit or I don't know what, just casually, but there were about 10 people following him around town. That's all he did. He just walked around with people with cameras taking his picture. Other people were writing in little notebooks and talking amongst themselves. Soon, the whole town followed. Oh, a celebrity. What's his name? Oh, well, his name's John so-and-so, somebody said. I've heard that name before. Oh, it must be that guy I saw on TV over there. Pretty soon, everybody was making up stories, and they had the identity of this person without him ever saying anything or anybody ever saying anything except saying his name, that he was so-and-so celebrity, come to visit the town. They concocted this big-ass story out of the blue, shook his hand, and were, sir, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so happy. Oh, my God, I can't believe you're here. All because this guy got a bunch of his friends to follow him around and take pictures. So, and when I was in my younger days, let's say in my mid-20s, I decided to do this experiment with a friend of mine, but in a kind of more fun bachelor type way. We went to a strip bar. This was a kind of not high end, but mid end, and we kind of dressed well, but not too well, high end casual. And we did nothing but sit at a table and took out some notepads, looked around, and just started scribbling on the notepads. Pretty soon we were getting free drinks. All of the strippers were all over us. We were getting we didn't pay a cent, and everybody assumed we were from some high-end magazine or whatever, recruiting or doing whatever, or Hollywood or I don't know what. But the bouncers were all bowing down, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, and that's all we did. So what does this tell you? What does this tell you about human nature and who we follow and what we listen to?
We're gullible.
you know. But all we need is somebody going around pretending to be an authority, and all of a sudden, they don't even have to lie to us. We lie to ourselves. We make up the stories. I didn't say anything. That other guy who was following around didn't say anything. It was the people who made up the story. These CIA types, whatever they are, the disinformation, they don't have to say anything. All they have to do is respond to rumors. They take whatever's out there, and then they add something. They see how people respond, and they run with it, what people need. So it's like, well, did any of these people who followed the other person and thought he was a celebrity, what were they thinking? Why all of a sudden they wanted this? They wanted this to happen. They wanted somebody who they could project a sense of importance. And why were they projecting a sense of importance onto this person? Where's the light of truth here? Why? Some say they were denying their own sense of importance. You see, when you deny your own sense of importance, of what you can do, of how empowered you truly are, or can be at least, your potential, when you deny this, then you end up, where does it go? It's like energy. You can't be destroyed, and it's not really created. It transforms. So where does it go? It gets projected. That's called harvesting, but what, they don't even have to harvest. We just give it to them. Take it. Oh, you great one. You know, oh, Mr. Elite. Oh, Mr. Authority. Oh, Mrs. So and so. Oh, goddess of who knows what. And then so all they do is just egg it on because that's what we want. And have we been taught this? Not really. I mean, animals do it all the time. There's some animals that are hardcore, want to be on top, and other animals basically want somebody to be on top. Makes life easier. But who is motivated to be on top? And who is motivated to be on the bottom? Because when the guy on top, both of them want servitude. The guy on the bottom wants the one on top to serve them, actually, because they're stronger and they can do more and they're willing to be the sucker who becomes the leader servant for the people or the whatever. But instead, nobody's motivated to be a sacrifice. Nobody's going to be put on a cross of duty and obligation when there's no return at any level. And nobody is going to be going to that position without some kind of motivation. And so they'll be going to that position because they think that it's an opportunity to take advantage of everybody. So the con job goes both ways. The problem is that people con themselves very easily. Now, this is a double-edged sword here because we may be conning ourselves, but, you know, the people at the top are also conning themselves. They don't want us to know that, and they don't know it. Just like we don't know if we're conning ourselves until the shit hits the fan, so we say, so to speak. You know, so perhaps this change that's going around, because Ron mentioned the ambassador, for example, that who wants to tell the family, and this is just an example, wants to tell the family that people are not happy with the cabal's abuse of them. Oh, yeah. Well, come on. When were they happy? I mean, was there ever a time when the people were happy with being abused and screwed? So I think maybe I would understand it differently. Basically, the message is that people aren't buying into it anymore. People aren't, it's not sustainable. Even if they're buying into it, things have gotten so complicated that it's not sustainable. A feudal system is not sustainable. It's not going to work. I don't care how benign it is. Things are too complicated. They've been equalized. The elite wanted technology. They wanted modernity. They wanted globalism. They ended up taking their simple little feudal systems of control, which were already pretty complex, and social engineering, and they turned it into this big machine that they think they can control. And they've also, and this big machine, this beast, that they think has its own artificial intelligence, when in reality it's fucking schizophrenic. It's psychopathic like them. It's sociopathic. It's garbage in, garbage out. The programmer determines the computer. So some people are realizing this, and others are saying, "Oh, you're just afraid. We have to move forward." Whatever. But I think some people are realizing that, look, man, you throw the lemmings off the cliff, they're going to drag you with them, or the whole thing is going to crumble. Now, where is the light of truth in all of this? The light of truth is in our substance, is in what's meaningful to us. The light of truth is not something we shine, because that's just another, in my honest opinion, it's just another attitude of trying to get someone or something to do the work for you. That's the problem with technology. It's given us so much, but essentially it's the message of technology is what we create can do our work for us. What we create can send out, and this is how we bitch at the creator. I mean, the creator created us, put us in hell, and went on vacation. And so we're supposed to be the little puppets that are supposed to do the solve the problems of creation, instead of the creator. But aren't we projecting exactly our attitude toward technology? And I'm not saying love your creations like some kind of transhumanist robot lovers or something like that. I'm saying that technology is just a tool, and you can't separate the hammer from the person who's using it. I don't care how automated it is, there's always a link between the tool and the user. Technology is not a person, and you cannot use a person, an autonomic, self aware being, even animals, That's one of the gripes against nature, that we have to eat to survive. But this isn't really using an animal as a tool. It's basically consumption. It's basically transforming another being into ourselves. Anyways, I'm babbling about that. I don't want people to nitpick the logic of it. My point is that technological tools are linked to their creators. We are linked to our creators, but look at the religion and the cultish thing about it. They keep calling God the great architect. They keep calling us creations, but it's, and I say they because I think it's matrix propaganda, because we're not creations. We're like engineered products of a creator. We're constructs. We're machines of God. We're puppets. We're Pinocchio. Pinocchio is an allegory of, Geppetto, God creating the sun, and then the sun going through lies and his nose getting bigger and being trapped in the whale and all of this stuff, and finally he becomes a real boy. Why? Because he learns the value of truth, honesty, sincerity, all of this, the value of heart. The fact is that we've been trained to view the world as soulless. Even when we empathize and everything, our minds are separated from our hearts. And it's very hard to intellectualize this, but I do so in order to avoid the confusion of dramatizing the heart. I don't want to dramatize the heart. I don't want to play heart games like some people play mind games. I don't want to go, oh, love and light and blah, blah, blah. No, that's a subjective experience. And I talked about it in the former video. The light of truth is not something that travels from one place to another. It exists, it's omnipresent. That's what we need to get, in my opinion. You don't shine it in the dark like you shoot a bullet in the dark. You don't treat light like a tool to do the work for you. You are the light of truth. Your sense of meaning is the light of truth. If you do not live by your sense of meaning, by your principles, then you are divorced from yourself. And if you are divorced from yourself, you will project your power elsewhere. You will make people celebrities, elites, authorities, gods, whatever, because you deny yourself. Thus, if people try to shine the light of truth into the mirror, they will be blinded, because it will be an overwhelming tool to which there is nothing attached. And sometimes we mistake truth for facts. Facts are the forms. And you can have a whole bunch of facts in the world of lies. We already do. That's how we're confused. The law has a whole bunch of facts. Medicine has a whole bunch of facts, and yet people are dying, and injustice is being done. Wars are being committed due to the facts of who did what, who said it first, whatever did this and that. We're confused by facts because we're looking at the glass of water, thinking the shape of the glass is going to quench our thirst. Water has no shape. It takes on the shape of its container. Truth is the water of life. The water of life will nourish you. That's how it sets you free. It nourishes you. It quenches you. And yet, you can't just drink one glass of water in your whole lifetime and be done with it. It needs to flow. You drink it in and you piss it out. This is the cycle. Certain biologists call it the hypersea. Fish swim in the ocean. Well, land animals carry the ocean with them. The constituency of blood plasma is the same as oceanic water. We are bags of ocean and life. And just like the ocean is a womb of life, our bodies are a womb of life. And so, the part carries the whole. And within the whole, the parts were born. And the circle closes that way. That is the light of truth. Everything is interconnected, both physically and spiritually. And the heart knows this. The heart is the light of truth that does not need to shine because it's omnipresent. However, you need to fucking get out of this addiction to the containers of truth. You don't need that. That's the whole thing about money. Do we need money? Do we need to change anything? We don't have to change a damn thing. All we have to do is take away the damn stupid symbols. Even the stupid symbols on the dollar bill, for example, those Masonic symbols, they're not evil. They're basically talk about unity. The pyramid itself represents the grounded human body. The eye represents the third eye. It represents the focus of energy from the earth to the sky. There is no evil in this. You don't see dead corpses on. There's more potential evil in the Christian cross with some dead guy hanging from it. That's fucking nasty. you know but they talk about the symbol, and that's justified because that can inspire what the symbol means. Again, Ron and others mentioned the goddess Kali the destroyer. I'm into that kind of thing, and I'll tell you, as anybody who's into that kind of thing will say, that Kali is not a destroyer. This is a distortion. You know why they use all these bloody symbols on Kali? Because every time they use good symbols, the priests hijacked the symbol and distorted it and said, this is the good God. And while they're killing you, they're saying, worship the good God. So certain sages said, oh, yeah, well, we're going to make our God terrifying and scary. And so it's better for you to demonize it and call it evil, because those in the know better. Those in the know look beyond the form and look into the essence of it. Because when you penetrate the heart of Kali, she's golden. She's the golden mother, the nourishing mother. The swords, that's how the psychopaths, that's for the psychopaths. That's for anybody who is not in truth. So in order to get to the truth, why isn't the truth given to us directly? Because you cannot show essence to somebody, because you will confuse it with form. That's why they call it Maya. It's not illusion. Reality is not illusion. It's just, it's the shape of it. The shape is not the substance. The shape is the particular expression of the substance. So if you take away the expression and the package, so to speak, or the outline of something, and take out the inside of it, it's like, well, what's left? It's like, what's a human body without the organs? A stuffed doll, you know. What the straw man? Ah, there you go. The straw man. The straw man is basically a whole reality frame without the essence. It's packed full of useless junk. So it's not that the corporations turn us into straw men, straw women, whatever. They turn the whole reality into a straw man reality. The Matrix is a straw man. It's got empty forms. It's got tasty foods that are fucking killing us. It's got all kind of pretty people dancing around toxic products that they force us to buy because they force us on one level, but we do it willingly on another level. Buying into the system, buying into the same old, same old. And you're wondering, okay, the light of truth, isn't that going to save us? If you think in terms of the light of truth saving you, then you're not identifying with the light of truth. You're going to save us. You're going to save you. You're going to save everything by becoming the light of truth. And that means getting beyond the shape of truth. Is money bad? Of course not. It can be. It can be good. Is a glass bad? Well, it's harmful if I bash it over somebody's head, but it can also contain water. What's the best shape for a given situation? Well, that is such a thing. What's the best money concept for a given system? Well, for the system of control, the money they're using now is imperfect and they want to turn it into electronic money, but it works so far. So that's the thing. What society do we want? The money concept isn't bad. It's just the way we shape the exchange of financial energy, of economic effort, of cause and effect, of creating a materially sustainable life. All of this is revolves around this very nebulous but still concrete concept, graspable concept of the light of truth. You do not shine the light of truth. You become it. And there is no from here to there between the light of truth and whatever it hits, the darkness itself. Well, how do I shine the light of truth in the darkness then? Ha, you have to become the darkness. And then you become the light of truth, and poof, light in dark illuminates. So you cannot stand behind the darkness from a safe distance and illuminate it. It won't work. Darkness is simply the place where anything can happen. It's not a bad place. Anything can happen in the dark place, but you're not aware of it. It's the realm of potential. It's just that so far, what seems to be coming out of the dark is bad. Why is that? Why is that? I mean, do we really want to shine the light in all the darkness so there's nothing that's in potential? Or do we want to master the darkness in the sense of, well, why can't the darkness emit pleasant surprises? Why can't somebody beautiful step out of the darkness? Why can't our lover step out of the darkness? Why can't our security, our creativity, our inspiration step out of the darkness? It often does. We're sitting here, we're sitting somewhere completely ignorant, and then all of a sudden we get a flash of inspiration. We were dark and then we're light. So we think that something shines into us. And that's a valid metaphor. But where does that light come from? A source of light? Or maybe it comes out of a void of potential. Or maybe we're the void of potential and inspiration emerges and is birthed from us. You see, watch your metaphors because they construct your reality for you. The Cabal and all of these guys, whatever you want to call them, use symbols because a symbol is a multi purpose container. The pentagram is the human being, it's the planet Venus, it's the satanic whatever, it's the witch, it's the five elements, it's so many things, all summarized into one shape. And so a symbol can actually contain many things. So be aware of your symbols, be aware how you think, be aware who and what you invest in. The stock market is a symbol. It's a reality, but it's a symbol. It's a con. We're told that there are these investors. What are they investing? They're investing us. And why are they investing us? Because we're projecting onto them. So I say, stop projecting. Is it that easy? No, it's not. Because why would you want to project? Because you're afraid. You're afraid to stand up in front of the mirror. I mean, I agree with the ambassador. Stand up in front of the mirror. Look in the mirror. But it's easy to give a directive to people and expect it to be that simple, but it's not that simple, really. We're motivated to not stand in front of the mirror. We're motivated to not even see mirrors. Mirrors are all around us. Everything is a mirror because everything's connected. Everything. We're a mirror, not just of everything else, but of ourselves. Because when you really look into the center of your being, what you see is an infinite reflection of infinite potential. And you can see that as light, or you can see that as darkness, or you can see that as a morphing, just like if you had mercury. Mercury is a liquid, and yet it is reflective. Or you can see that as a solid, this is it. The point is, what serves you? You see, instead of looking for your authorities or people in power to be your servants, and instead of looking for coming to the conclusion that you have to be the servant of somebody else, or you are enforced to be a slave, look to the motivations behind your, look to serve yourself. I said this before, it all comes down to you. The light of truth, because the light of truth is not a technological tool. It is the essence of reality. That's why it sets us free. It is not information. It's not a mind thing. It's a heart thing, but it's a mind thing, and it's a body thing. All of these play different roles. This is abstract. I'm purposely being abstract. Just like when we all talk to each other, because each of us has our own particular way of dealing with things. But when you stand in front of the mirror, we go back to something simple. Why would you give up your sense of worship, adoration, admiration to a celebrity? Anybody, somebody you admire. Why do you admire that person? Because maybe they have something that you would want. They are something that you would want. But when you project your admiration and you find that you don't have the same love within you for yourself, the same respect for yourself, then you're giving your energy away. And that's the energy with which you should be creating your own reality. And you're not, because you're giving it away. Sharing is something different. And having somebody as a manager, an authority, a governor is something different. Those are just roles. Those are parts we play. I mean, a manager basically, as long as somebody who's so called in charge is has fair compensation for what they do, fair compensation. They have something to do and they need to be compensated. And they're fully aware that this is the job. However, it is also our job to devise ways where we at least will be aware that they're honest. How do you do that? Discernment. How do you do discernment? By really being aware of where your self discernment is being compromised. Without self discernment, you cannot discern anything out there. Why? Because you're giving your power away. You're giving your power away. You don't even have to be harvested. They're just encouraging us to be harvested. I mean, come on, if you're an addict of a drug, you don't really need the drug dealer to do much to get you to take the drug. They just have to be around and jiggle it in front of your face. That's all they have to do. They may threaten you in the end. They may do a lot, but in the end, without your own addiction, they cannot do squat. Because if they started killing everybody, everybody would either round up against them or else just go the other way. They wouldn't have any customers. So, what I'm saying is look in the mirror, but it's not so easy. Admit that it's not easy. Don't use light as a scapegoat for your own avoidance of self. Don't use dark as a scapegoat for your own avoidance of self. Self is a wonderful thing. So decelebritize your reality, just like Ron has decelebritized God. I mean, that's a good thing that he was bitching at God. I'm not against that because God has been taken down from his high horse. And that's where I mean, God is in creation. God is of creation. God is us. All of this. So God cannot be high on the mountain. The mountain is God too. Transcended is God too. In us is God. God is all of it. So, but we can't, a celebrity is never one with the person that worships them. There's no union there. There's separation, you know. So decelebritize reality. That is the beginning of the light of truth, in my opinion. Decelebritize your parents. Don't be afraid to understand your parents are human beings. That's something logical. Don't be afraid to understand that God is evolving. Doesn't mean God's making mistakes. It means that God is expanding experience. Reality is expanding experience. The same thing with psychopaths. Psychopaths simply refuse to evolve. They refuse to evolve for whatever reason. We can't know the reason unless we engage in the psychopath within. You know, this whole thing, you know, so Ron mentioned something about pedophilia in a previous thing. And where Christianity gives us so much guilt, for example, that even sitting around cuddling with a little kid, there's a guilt trip involved. And where there's a guilt trip, we project a crime when the crime isn't even committed. And then the child itself freaks out because they feel the projection of our own guilt, which is our evaluation of ourselves. We're creating our reality as one where we are a pedophile. We're wearing a kind of garb of pedophilic potential, even though it has nothing to do with us, because we've been told that we are guilty before we even have done anything. And we can blame people for that and whatever, but it doesn't matter. What matters is how can we remedy it? Let's focus on remedies. I mean, when somebody goes to the hospital, the doctors don't beat up the patient because they've got sick. You know, they don't preach to them because they got sick. They don't seek the person that gave them poison or bitch at the weather. They seek to remedy. Let's be healers. Healers are courageous people. You know, they're more courageous than warriors going out and screaming and getting themselves killed or chopping. It's easy to swing a sword. All it needs is some training, you know, and a fanatical cause, which is basically programming. It's not easy to heal. A healer is not a wimp. A healer is far more than a warrior or somebody who fights or somebody who's in conflict. A creator is far more than a destroyer. But a transformer is essentially a creator who modifies the existing situation. They don't destroy, they don't throw out, they don't trash. They reconstruct, deconstruct, reconstruct. And this can happen without suffering. Our body is constantly reconstructed and deconstructed, you know. You can say that our cells reincarnate, that when one cell dies, it goes into its clone, its other cell that's created. A cell splits in two. Who's the parent? The parent is in both offspring. However, this happens, again, I'm using metaphors and I'm going round and round about this to just give you a sense that you don't just look in the mirror, you listen to yourself, you look within. One of the biggest practices in yoga that's kind of somehow secret is the internal gaze. You look out into the world, but you're really looking inside. Look inside and keep your eyes open so you allow all of the light to come in from the world, everything that you see, but your attention is focused on your retinas. And that way you have a sense your consciousness alters. Your consciousness touches the essence of yourself, but incorporates the external vision, incorporates the world too. Now that's just a visual practice, but I'm saying orient your awareness like that. It doesn't have to be some exercise. It's an attitude. Be able to know that the mirror is within you, that it's not easy to become the mirror of yourself because you have to, people keep bragging on each other. Oh, you're judging me. Oh, well, forget about that. But look at yourself. There's no need for forgiveness. That's the whole thing. Forgiveness means a prior accusation has occurred. So, there's already blame. So forget about forgiveness. Look at yourself and just say, look, man, I have done, nothing really. I may have made mistakes, or I have may have been ignorant, or have may done this or that, but I am not those things. I am not wrong. And somebody admitting that they may have done something wrong is ineffectual unless they understand that deep down the light of their truth is right. Now, you can't relate to psychopaths like that or people who follow psychopaths because they have denied that. Repentant means reversing the denial, understanding that an attitude of acceptance has to begin from self acceptance. So, if, for example, there's a piece of guilt, what happens if you repent and say, I'm sorry I've been guilty. I'm sorry I felt guilty. So now I'm going to live without guilt and see what happens. A ton of emotions are going to come to the surface. Fear about releasing the guilt, rage at those who made you feel guilty, a whole bunch of things. That's where the shadow lies. That's what you need to heal. And when you do, you're going to get it together. And the light of truth will be more obvious because you will be more obvious to yourself. I've been rambling on about this. This is not an organized talk. I haven't. I didn't even know what I was going to say except for that little metaphor and something I saw about the light of truth. But in a way, it's very simple because it's instinctive in us. It's instinctive in us to be aware of our own nature, to be in touch with ourselves, just as it's instinctive in us to love. Because when a child is born, it wants to love and it wants love in return. It takes it for granted, and it should be for granted. So why don't we be the generous ones to ourselves? Why don't we take our love for granted in a good way because we are generous and granting it? Why don't we also grant it to ourselves and then understand that because we are connected to everything, it is very automatically granted to everything else once we affirm that connection through our empathy. Even if somebody is suffering, love yourself in the face of suffering because you're empathizing and suffering with them. And then you can look at them, and out of your eyes, love will shine as an extension of yourself. But it's not going to be like light shining, like a flashlight. It's you expanding into their field and them feeling you and them being encouraged to empathize with you who love them as yourself. This is the golden rule put into practice. The mirror is meaningless unless what is revealed is the truth of the golden rule. What is behind the golden rule? Why the golden rule is the golden rule. And why is it a golden rule? Because that is the true currency. That is the true currency. Really think on that. How is the golden rule the currency? We exchange a do unto others mentality because that is our motive for creation. I create something beautiful because I want beauty in my life. And I share it with others because I do unto others as I want to be done unto me. So what I create represents my beauty, represents me, but I create something useful because I want utilitarianism in my life. I research something that will help people's lives because I want to be helped. Look within and you will find your truth. Look within, you will find the seeds of what you can do. But you have to plant those seeds, you have to cultivate them, you have to look at the ground of the world and the ground of your being and see what kind of plants will grow and what kind of fruits they will bear. All of it rests on your sense of meaning. So again, a lot of fancy terms here. All of them come down to you. Just like in the last video. You are the light of truth. You shine nowhere because you are everywhere. You touch everyone. But first, that will not be perceived unless you perceive how you touch yourself. That's what I wanted to say today. Thank you for being patient with this crazy ramble. I'll try to be more organized next time.
Just like trying to be on time next time.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Okay, thank you, Aristo. Wow, I took a good page of filled up a page with notes.
so it's going to be some blurb, okay.
Well, I may not use them all, but I wrote down different ideas that you said, and there were some things you said I didn't write down. So it is the way it is.
Okay. I just hope people don't shut it off after the first 5 minutes and like, well, shit, you know.
All right.
It is what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Namaste.
Same here.